Kia ora and welcome to Whangarei Matters. My name's Craig Nielsen. I'm part of the communications team and I'm sat down with Laura Devsich. She's the T2 Priority Lane project manager that's being built on Whangārei Road. So kia ora, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Craig.
This is a huge project that nearly everyone in Whangarei district has noticed. At the same time, we've got really heavy traffic on Whangārei Road often. What are we doing about that?
The project was created so that we could try to get more people into less vehicles, basically. And it's a really good corridor for that because it actually has quite wide existing road widths, which means that we can do a relatively cheap investment and get some really good outcomes in that respect. So one obvious way that you can get more people into less vehicles is for people to jump on the bus, which we really strongly encourage. And another way is vehicle sharing. And so that's why we've made it both a bus lane and also a T2 priority lane. The reason we're doing this is we're expecting quite a bit of growth in the Te Kamo catchment in the future. So the congestion that we're seeing at the moment, none of us really like, is only expected to get worse as time increases. So we really wanted to try and do something now to try and stem the flow and to give people some different options, some viable options, make the bus service a bit more reliable and also, to make it more attractive to people.
Wow, yeah, that's given me a lot of things to pick up on. Let's start with this one. Let's say that I pair up with my neighbour and we share a ride into town.
Yes.
At that point, we can use the T2 lane, can't we?
Absolutely. We've identified the congestion, but it's not as bad as it could be right now. Like I say, it will get worse. So we're starting off with T2. So we really want to just encourage people to get into that sort of way of thinking, that if they can share a ride, and also it'll probably be quite helpful for mums and dads who are taking their kids to school as well. They're also able to use the lane. So we just really want to encourage people to think about using less vehicles on that arterial if we can.
Okay, and so let's say I pair up with my neighbour. Now we can use the T2 lane. How exactly does that help?
Well, it's half of the vehicles on the road, so that means that when people are in the congested area, it's less distance of cars stacked up, less vehicles that need to go through. It's actually quite a significant improvement. Just half a vehicle makes a big difference to congestion. So any of those would be great wins for the route.
Yeah, right. But okay, let's say my neighbour's sick and they're not getting in my car today, and I'm back in the T1 lane, if you want, the normal road lane.
Yes.
Do I still get anything from there being a T2 lane there?
Right now, at the current levels of use, we expect that introducing a second lane where some vehicles will be using that other lane, the bus lane, transit lane, will reduce the overall congestion on the route. That's going to be a wonderful outcome, but we probably do need to impress that this is one snapshot in time, and that growth that we've predicted in the Te Kamo catchment will continue to happen. So over time, those gains will probably slowly go away, but if we didn't do it, it would have been even worse.
So I can use it if I've got someone else in the vehicle with me,
yes,
including kids?
Yes.
I can use it if I'm on a bus. Mm-hmm. Any other cases?
Yes, it's actually a special vehicle lane, and that's kind of the technical term that we use for it, which means that any other vehicles like an ambulance or police or fire are completely allowed to use it. There's also other vehicles like, bikes and motorbikes, obviously, they're allowed to use that lane. And even down to the level of sort of public service vehicles like your rubbish collection, we're going to make sure that they're able to use the special vehicle lane as well.
Oh, right. So the only case that I wouldn't be able to use the lane would be if I'm driving in my car on my own.
That's right, yeah.
That's actually most people, isn't it?
It's quite interesting because we did a bit of a survey on this corridor, in particular just north of the Faux Valley Lights, and the general percentage of people that have just one person in their vehicle is about 3 to 4% across the country. So we weren't expecting to see that many people with more than that, but at the time we looked, which was probably about the school run time, it was actually 15 to 18%. Now that might only be for the half hour to 45-minute period when people are dropping kids off at school, but we're actually expecting that this infrastructure is going to be quite well liked by families in particular and very well used. So we're quite excited about that.
Okay, well, you got my expectations soaring high in the clouds now. It's going to be well liked. Let's face it as well, there has been some parking loss, right? And there has been some costs of the project beyond just monetary, which we'll come back to. Yes. But what are those things, and how have you made sure that that's not actually been too big an impact?
Yeah, so with the parking, we have worked really hard to try to retain as much parking on that arterial as we can. By and large, we've done a pretty good job. Certainly the northbound lane, everything's moved over to crunch that. So what we've actually done is, in particular north of the Faux Valley Lights, the loss of parking on the left-hand side has kind of been reinstated on the southbound side, because after 9 o'clock, that lane becomes available for parking again. So where there has been a loss of parking on the northbound, quite often it's been replaced, but on a time-limited basis on the southbound. And so the whole lane is known as a special vehicle lane, but it's also known as a clearway. And so that continues down Bank Street as well. So that loss of parking between 7 till 9 a.m, we went through the project and we looked specifically at the businesses that we thought would be negatively affected by losing their parking on road during that time. And there were a couple of cafes and also a dairy that we thought it's going to be too hard on them to lose their parking during that time. So we actually went through to a couple of side roads that were immediately adjacent to those businesses, and we found new car parks that we could install for them, which were slightly off-road, to give them their customers an ability to visit them during that time of the day. And the dairy in particular on Bank Street, we actually redesigned the entire special vehicle lane so that it goes around those car parks so they can still be used. Yeah.
Oh, right. But it does sound like I would need to get in new habits.
Yes, and there's going to be a step change in the way people use this arterial, and that will take some time and that will take some bedding down. Yeah.
So just, you use this word arterial.
Yes.
We'll try not to get too technical, but have I got this right? Then an arterial is what you might call a main road that
Yes.
sort of goes between centres or different sort of parts of the district.
Yes.
And so they get treated a little differently to normal roads, right?
They are special. They've got a lot of cars on them. They've got a lot of people that want to travel down them. So, it is a step change to realise our environment, we've got a lot of growth here. Whangarei is an awesome place. People want to move here. They want to live here. So those arterials, they need to do more work for us. And that's what this project is really about. It's about trying to get the existing infrastructure at the lowest possible cost to work harder for us.
And just thinking about Te Kamo, there's also the Kamo shared path.
Yes.
How is that being used? And if that wasn't there, what would that do in the traffic?
That's all part of our journey to try and get less cars on that road so that we don't have that congestion, that time delay for the people who have no other choice but to use a car. So the Kamo shared path is a wonderful, wonderful asset that allows people to use their bikes, their scooters to get to work, hopefully, or to the shops or to their friend's place.
Or to school, right? You see lots of students using it.
Exactly. And we really want to encourage that.
I mean, I see lots of school kids using it. If they weren't doing that, I suppose they would have to be driven.
Absolutely, yeah.
Even then, we know that during school holidays, there's just way less traffic and it just flows way better. So what does that show us?
That shows us that a lot of parents are still taking their kids to school in the car, and I think that that's to a degree unavoidable. There's certain ages of children that parents might not be ready to let their kids walk to school by themselves, and that's pretty understandable. And also, if it's a wet weather day, we all know what the increase in traffic is during term time on a wet weather day, so people are less motivated to use the shared path in those kind of scenarios. But this lane does provide extra capacity. So we're hoping that even those peaks will be reduced, at least for a period of time into the future.
When we have school holidays or it's a nice day and people seem to be out walking, the traffic just flows so much better. How much is it reducing by? And can we make that work all the time with the T2 lane?
The way that we could get it really working is if people are willing to give the bus a try. The bus service, we're working very closely with Northland Regional Council. We recognise that in Whangarei there are multiple barriers to people using the bus. This project is, we think, a wonderful attempt to overcome a major barrier, which is the infrastructure. And it does take quite a big investment to do that, but thankfully we've been able to do that through this project. There's still the other barriers, and we really want to start working through that with our community. If we can encourage more people onto the bus, we can get more regular buses travelling down the corridor, and we can start to have a really robust and resilient bus service.
Yeah, but I think Buses in the city have sometimes been slow, like you have to travel right there in the traffic, so you're not going faster than if you drove your car. You know, they have to stop like frequently. What can the T2 lane do about that?
So we've got quite a few ways we've tried to tackle that. So I'll talk you through a few of them because they're pretty cool. One of them is obviously the extra lane. And we're hoping that not only will that give the buses a quicker route into town, but also it allows them to be more reliable in terms of their timing. So one thing that can be quite frustrating for someone who's trying to use the bus is thinking that it's going to be at the bus stop in 5 minutes' time and then waiting another 15 minutes. So because this lane will be readily available, it gives the buses an ability to be more reliable with their trip planning and the times that they'll be at the bus stops, which gives the users a better experience. And the other thing that the project did was it actually looked at the existing spacing of the bus stops and it reorganised them to a degree so they were more evenly spaced, which hopefully means that they're more accessible to more people from their home. And we also have this cool function, which is that we've introduced signalised crossings throughout the route, and that is because crossing 3 lanes of traffic via a zebra crossing is probably a bit too unsafe. So we've installed signalised crossings, and they actually have gated bus stops, which is that the signalised crossing is in the middle, and on either side we have bus stops, which means that if you get off on one side and actually your home is on the other side of the road, you have a very safe crossing facility to get to the other side of the road. We're hoping all of this will help users have a better experience with their bus. And we also have CCTV on those crossings, which means hopefully the bus stops might be we have the ability to make them a bit safer as well. So there's quite a few little cool things that are coming out of this project that we're really hoping will help people want to go on the bus.
Yeah, I see. And okay, so let's say you're in a rush. You're in heavy traffic, you end up stuck, and then you get to a red light as someone's crossing the road. How much does that hold me up?
Well, the really cool thing with the technology associated with the signalised crossings now is they're all connected to the adjacent intersections. So what we now have the ability to do through these signalised crossings is really kind of shepherd the vehicles down this arterial in a quite intelligent way. So we will be able to change the phasing of these signalised crossings so that during those really peak traffic times, perhaps you'll have to wait a little bit longer as a pedestrian to cross. However, at the other times when we know that the traffic flow isn't that high, we can actually reduce the spacing so that you can press the button and know that you'll be crossing soon. So we're able to meet the demand of the various users and adjust it accordingly. And we can also schedule in those pedestrian crossings so they don't conflict with the nearest intersections phasing, which means that we're able to keep people moving much better.
Oh, right. I think people have been asking for this stuff for a long time.
Yeah.
So that's part of the project, is it? Is that we're
That's part of the project. And one of the difficult things is that we do struggle to get funding for these kind of things a lot of the time. The fund that this project was paid for has made a lot of things possible that usually we would have to wait 8 to 10 years for.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, you said that this is good value.
Yes.
The project's about $4 million, is it?
Yes.
That's a lot of ratepayer funds.
It is. It is quite an expensive project. We think it's great value for money. Regardless, I think it's going to do some pretty cool things. And the other wonderful thing about it is that actually it's not funded from ratepayer dollars. This project has been funded from the Transport Choices Fund that has been funded by the central government. Yeah, so it's better described as taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, right. I mean, but I'm a ratepayer and a taxpayer.
Yes.
So if I'm looking for, if I'm thinking, hey, well, I'm still paying for this.
Yes.
What would have happened to that money if we hadn't taken on this project?
There was a period about 2.5 years ago where all the different districts in New Zealand had an opportunity to put their best foot forward for this money. And Whangarei District Council put their best foot forward and actually got all of the money that we applied for. If we hadn't have got our hand in for that money, then it would have been given to a different district.
Oh, right. So I wouldn't have saved any of my taxpayer dollars on it.
No, you wouldn't have. And it's really cool that we got what we got, and we've really been making the most of it.
And rates, on the other hand, come from, rates, ratepayer dollars.
Yes.
But you're saying that they're not actually being used for this.
No, there's a small amount of overrun from the program, which was actually a $14 million program, so quite significant. But we're forecasting at the moment the overrun will be less than 2% of that amount. So we've really made good on what has been perhaps a bit of a gift from central government.
Okay, so the new habits I'm going to need to get used to new parking. There might be a merge in there that wasn't there before.
Yes.
And if I want to turn left, or like, if I'm actually needing to cross the lane, how can I even do that?
So that's a really good question, and that's part of what we want to make sure that all of our residents and ratepayers understand, is that this lane will be legally enforceable, and in order to do that, to make sure that it works for its intended function, we will have to do some enforcement. It's not necessarily our first desire. We don't wish to give anyone any more tickets than they already have, but we need to make sure that the lane works. But you are allowed to travel in the lane for less than 50 metres. So if you're turning into your driveway, or you're turning into a side road, or you're turning out of your driveway or out of a side road, you have up to 50 metres to travel in the lane and merge into the main lane of traffic if you only have one person in your vehicle.
Oh, okay, so there's like some sort of allowance there.
Yeah, 50 metres is a reasonable stretch of a reasonable distance. So, and that is the legal rule across the country. It's not one that we've made up. It stands across the country.
50 that's like about 2 bus lengths?
Probably more, yeah.
Okay. Right.
A little bit more, yeah.
Okay, I'm a bad guy renegade, and I'm going to travel 80 metres in the bus lane.
Yes.
What are you going to do about it?
So part of making the infrastructure work is that we've had to invest in enforcement zone cameras. So you will shortly see some poles going up on the side of the road in certain locations, and these will be to basically check and make sure that people aren't using the lane who aren't meant to be. So that will be how we manage the T2 aspect of it. So those cameras will be checking to make sure that you have more than one person in your vehicle.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do they do that?
Some incredible technology.
Okay.
So they have lots of cameras.
Is it that you have to watch it, you watch it later?
No. So because this is something new for us, and this is the first piece of infrastructure of its kind in Whangarei, we're actually using the smarts of Auckland Transport, who have, if you've ever been down there, you probably know their T2 lanes and their bus lanes, and they have some pretty incredible technology that they've been developing over the last sort of 10 plus years. Onto a Road is the classic example that many people know of. And so we will be using them to process the data that comes out of these cameras. And they will be reviewing it first via an amazing computer, and then via people who are very well qualified to look at the information. And they will send us enforcement packages. So they will be assisting us with this whole process, because we would prefer to stand on the shoulders of giants than to learn everything from the beginning ourselves.
You can't just invent that yourself? Come on.
I think we need a bit more time.
Okay, I see. Okay, well, my bad guy renegade character, let's say I travelled 80 metres in that lane.
Yes.
So I get a unexpected letter in the mail.
Yes.
And what does it say?
So we will have a period where we're issuing warning notices to people, because we really want people to enjoy this new asset, and we want to sort of ease people into it a little bit. But after that period is complete, then you will be getting a ticket, and it will have $150 on it, which is a significant ticket. That is not a number that is set by us. As I say, our driver is that people come to enjoy this new facility, but unfortunately, in order to make it work, we must enforce it. And so that $150 fee is again set nationally. That's the infringement associated with travelling in a special vehicle lane for longer than you're allowed to.
Right, okay. Yeah, I don't think I want a $150 fine.
Neither do I.
Yeah. Especially just for driving to work, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's say I can avoid that by catching the bus or having someone else in my car.
Yes.
Or for that matter, catching a lift with someone.
Yes.
So I might need to get a backpack to carry all my things. Or what are the outcomes then? So we've got a T2 lane. If I'm using it, how does that benefit me and the rest of the people using Kamo Road?
It just again means that we've got less vehicles on that road, which reduces congestion for everyone. So it's very simple. It's simple math for what this project is meant to do. It's quite frankly involved quite a lot of technology, and there's been multiple challenges on the project that we've had to overcome in a very short time frame due to the funding requirements. However, I feel like we've got there, and I'm really proud of the team that's done this, and we've been able to make it all work. So I'm really excited for the opening.
Yeah, right. And so our take-home message for anyone that wants to use it, so you just have to have an extra person in the vehicle,
Yes.
or you need to be one of the other special vehicles,
Yep.
or jump on the bus. Is now a good time to try the bus?
Now is a good time to try the bus, yes. Yes, we would strongly encourage it. We're really excited, and we're hoping that this all leads to community enthusiasm and trust in the bus service. Yeah, and we've also got the reinvigoration of the Rose Street bus terminal. So there'll be a brand new bus terminal at the other end of this. So we're hoping that all leads to people making the bus service more attractive for people. Yeah.
Yeah, we can easily spend a whole podcast talking about the buses, right? But
Yes.
what happens if we become like one of those cities in the world where buses are really popular?
We might need to do more of these,
Yeah, okay.
which would be really cool. Yeah.
Well, that's enough of that. We've got more information about the T2 lane clearly laid out on our website. You can find it at wdc.govt.nz/T2. Laura Devsich, thank you very much for joining us. And thanks especially to our audience. You can always write in if you've got any questions or you want some further follow-up. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Laura, for being here.
Cheers. Thanks, Craig.